All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, we are in the midst of the All-Star break for the 2020-2021 NBA season. And with that said, for the first part of the season, we've got an idea who are really the contenders and pretenders in regards to winning an NBA championship. You look at it and you ask yourself, who is the best team in the East? And basically right now, it's a three-team race between the Philadelphia 76ers, Brooklyn Nets, and Milwaukee Bucks. Philly comes in as they are a half game better than the Nets, while the Bucks are in third place as they are 2 games behind Philadelphia. You look at it right now, of those 3 teams, Philadelphia is the most complete. You look at Joel Embiid. He's playing closer to the basket this year. He still has the perimeter game, but he's playing closer to the basket this season under first-year Sixers head coach Doc Rivers. You look at the talent around him. Of course, you have Ben Simmons at point guard, and you had Tobias Harris. And we talked about the additions of the likes of Dwight Howard, also Seth Curry, as well as Danny Green. And credit to Doc Rivers. He's not going out there and having Embiid or Simmons do something that they're not. Ben Simmons is not a shooter, and I know that there are plenty of people out there that want Ben Simmons to be a shooter. He's not. Ben Simmons' game is close to the basket within those 15 feet, and that's going to be, or needs to be, the impotence going forward is regards to him improving that offensive game. Still a solid passer and definitely a darn good rebounder, but just playing and trying to score within those 15 feet, that will be important for both him and the 76ers. You look at the Brooklyn Nets, and of course, Kevin Durant is out with the injury right now. They still have Kyrie Irving as well as James Harden. And it's a situation with all 3 of them. They are very potent when it comes to scoring. But the problem with the Nets, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, it's on the defensive end of the floor. You're not going to be able to score 130 points each night. And come playoff time, you gotta wonder if you're going to run into a team that can make you work for those shots, and you might have to, struggle defensively, offensively rather, against them. And if you're struggling offensively and the Nets really don't have anything to stop anybody on defense, it's going to make life very tough for them. You look at the Milwaukee Bucks. They're still one of the better teams in the East in the regular season. However, Milwaukee's problems come down to simply they are not able to consistently run a half-court offense. And their best player, Giannis Antetokounmpo, his game for the most part is transition. He's not a perimeter player. Giannis has all of the tools to be unstoppable in the post or very close to the basket, but he doesn't use them as much as he needs to. And we've seen him get exposed the last couple of years in the postseason for that. And, Milwaukee is probably going to finish with one of the better records in the East once again. But Giannis is going to be defined by what he is able to do or not do in the postseason. And what we've seen so far from Giannis in the playoffs is what he is unable to do. And until Giannis gets it going consistently in a half-court set, until Giannis is able to say, you know what, forget about the outside game. Let me just, stay down low, do my thing, and go from there. The Bucks and Giannis are going to consistently have problems. You look at 2 dark horses in the East race right now, and I'm talking about the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. These 2 teams faced off in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and of course, it was Miami who got the best of Boston. You look at it right now, the Celtics are 19-17. They're 5 games out behind Philly for the best record in the East. They finished the first half of the season winning their last 4 games. They've been up and down all season, haven't been healthy. You got Kemba Walker now, you've got Jason Tatum, and of course, you have Jaylen Brown. But for me, one thing that the Celtics are missing right now is consistent front court scoring. I know that they picked up Tristan Thompson in the offseason. He's a rebounder, yes, but the Celtics need another big who can score. And it's going to be interesting to see what Danny Ainge is going to be able to do prior to the trading deadline. You look at Miami. Of course, they made that magical run to the NBA Finals last year. This is a team that has been hit with the injury bug big time. They've got Jimmy Butler back. they're starting to show their swag. They won 7 out of their last 10 games. And Miami is starting to get back to what made them great, which is the defensive end of the floor. And if Miami's going to dig in, I really think that they have the potential to make somewhat of a run and move up in the standings in the Eastern Conference in time for the playoffs. Of course, we know that Pat Riley is shrewd when it comes to making deals to enhance his team. So it's going to be interesting to see what the slickster with the greasy hair down in Miami is going to be able to do to help this franchise make another run. You look at the New York Knicks, they're currently in 5th in the East, and for a lot of people, they are the feel-good story of the first half of the NBA season. Tom Thibodeau is in his first year as the head coach of the Knicks. We've seen the emergence of Julius Randle as a force for this Knicks offense. You look at the acquisition of Derrick Rose, and of course, Derrick Rose was at his best when he played under Tibbs when they were both with the Chicago Bulls. You look at the Knicks right now, like I said, they are a feel-good story, and the way that the Knicks are playing, they are definitely going to be a playoff team. They're playing hard for Coach Tibbs, and more importantly, the Knicks right now, they're playing with house money because they have absolutely nothing to lose. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Knickerbockers do in the second half of the season. You look at it, and it's that logjam in the Eastern Conference, basically from 4 all the way down to 12 or 13. You look at it, it's not that many games that separate these teams. You look at Toronto, they're holding off the Chicago Bulls for the final spot in the East right now. The Indiana Pacers, who are 10th, I expect them to get it going at some point. Atlanta, they have a new head coach right now, but Atlanta's problem is they can't stop anybody. They're all focused on scoring. The Washington Wizards are sitting there. They're only 2 games behind the Raptors for the final playoff spot in the East. Of course, Russell Westbrook was out with the injury before. Even when Westbrook and Bradley Beal have been together, it hasn't resulted in the Wizards winning games, but they had gotten it going just prior to the end of the first half of the season. So you just have to wonder if the Wizards can get some momentum for themselves and make a run to the postseason. Now, you look at it in the Western Conference, and the first thing you have to ask yourself, are the Lakers poised to win another title? The Lakers right now, they're 24-13. They're 3.5 games back behind the Utah Jazz for the top spot in the West. No Anthony Davis right now, and LeBron James is carrying this team. You look at it with the Lakers, they don't need much, but they definitely could benefit from getting more help at the 5 spot. Just to back up Davis, also, just having more size because that is going to be very, very important for them in the postseason. You look at the Utah Jazz, and this is a team that 27-9. They've been rolling. I mean, they finished the first half by losing their final 2, but you look at them, and it's the ball movement and it's the selfless basketball that the Jazz play. Great perimeter shooting with the likes of Bogdanovic, playing off of Donovan Mitchell. You also have, Rudy Gobert in the middle. And, of course, Rudy Gobert is not a scorer. He's definitely a rim protector and a rebounder. But you look at this Jazz team, and it's all about the fundamentals, which is going to make them a tough out come the postseason. Not saying that they're going to win the NBA championship, but they'll definitely be a tough out. The Phoenix Suns have really emerged this season after finishing last year hot in the NBA bubble. We saw them pick up Chris Paul, the veteran point guard, to go along with shooting guard Devin Booker. And you look at this Suns team, they're 2.5 back of the Jazz for the top spot in the West. But this team is poised to definitely make some noise throughout the rest of the regular season. The Los Angeles Clippers are 24-14. They finished the first half of the season by losing their final 3 games. And the Clippers have the talent, but I think the biggest thing that is going to hurt the Clippers, they have to upgrade their point guard position. I'm not sold on Reggie Jackson or Patrick Beverley in that starting lineup. To me, I think both Pat Bev and Reggie Jackson are guys that you need to come off the bench, not getting high minutes as starters. And that is something right there that hurt the Clippers last year at the point guard position, and it is definitely going to hurt them again as they look to make that championship run. The bottom half of the playoff bracket in the West, you have the Denver Nuggets sitting there at number 6, and Denver is going to be a very dangerous team, and they're going to once again be a tough out. We saw the Nuggets reached the Western Conference Finals last season. Nikola Jokic is not only one of the best bigs in the NBA, he's one of the best players in the game, because you look at it, he can score close to the basket. He has that mid-range game. He has that outside game. He can also rebound, but he is also a darn good facilitator. And because of that, he is going to make whoever has to guard him work that much more. We saw the emergence of Jamal Murray last year in the bubble, and that is carried over to this season for the Nuggets. And now we're seeing the emergence of Michael Porter Jr. But what I would like to see the Nuggets do, instead of having Michael Porter Jr. in that starting lineup, I would love to see Denver having him coming off the bench. And the reason for that is, you already have great scoring in your starting lineup with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. But now having Michael Porter Jr. come off of that bench just makes your bench that much stronger. And I liken it to what we saw with the Oklahoma City Thunder years ago when, of course, Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant were in the starting lineup, and then they had James Harden coming off the bench. The San Antonio Spurs, they're back to winning again. They're in that 7th spot. I don't think they're ready to make a title run, but they could make some noise and be a problem for a team in the first round. You look at it right now, the Dallas Mavericks have a half-game lead on the Golden State Warriors for that final spot in the West. The Mavericks can score with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, but just like it is for the Nets, they can't stop anybody. That's going to be the Achilles heel of the Mavericks as they look to get to the postseason. You look at the Warriors, and of course, they've had their fair share of injuries this year, but the bounce back year from Steph Curry, I like the way that Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins are playing off of him. And if the Warriors can get healthy, they're going to be a problem for somebody in this postseason, for the second half of the season as well as the postseason. You look at trade/buyout candidates, and I'm looking at 4 bigs that could have an impact for somebody. You look at Nicola Vuicks with the Orlando Magic, and of course, Orlando made the playoffs last year. They have the second worst record in the Eastern Conference right now, and it looks like they're definitely going to be sellers. You're hearing rumors about the Boston Celtics being interested in Vuicks, which would be a huge addition for them. Why? Because he would give them front court scoring, and more importantly, he gives them a big who can definitely stretch the floor. We've heard about Andre Drummond, as he has been sitting out plenty of games for the Cleveland Cavaliers as they are in the process of shopping him. You hear about the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers being in that mix, but either team could use him. Why? Because he is a rebounder, and that is something that both of those teams are lacking right now, which is size. Blake Griffin just got a buyout agreement with the Detroit Pistons. I know people are talking about him going to the Brooklyn Nets. It wouldn't work, just for the simple fact that the Nets, it sounds good on paper, but the thing is, Blake Griffin is not a rebounder and he's not a rim protector. And that's something that a team like the Nets needs. So, Blake Griffin could be a guy that could go to a potential playoff team, but still get lost in the shuffle. And finally, Al Horford with the Oklahoma City Thunder. You look at Horford and the Thunder, they're definitely not going to be a playoff team this year. But here is another stretch big that can shoot. He can also get rebounds and he can also pass. So, I think Al Horford would definitely fit in with the Utah Jazz. He could also fit in with the Phoenix Suns. And then looking back east, maybe a reunion with the Boston Celtics. You never know. But there are definitely plenty of options out there for Horford as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens before the trade deadline in the NBA. Of course, there's going to be the buyout option as well. But you look at it, and I really think the East is going to come down to the Sixers and the Nets. You look at it in the West, the Lakers, they're going to be right in the mix. You never write them off, of course, with LeBron James leading the way. The Jazz are a feel-good story, but I'm not sure if they have enough to get past the Lakers in a 7-game playoff series. That's going to be the defining factor right there. What I would say about a potential Jazz-Lakers matchup is that the size of Rudy Gobert is going to make Anthony Davis work inside, which means that it's going to be important for AD to go out there and be on top of his perimeter game to open things up in the paint and make Gobert have to come out there and to defend him. It's going to be interesting to see, but like I said, I just don't see the Jazz having enough to get past the Lakers. You look at the Clippers, and it's the same thing, the point guard issue. And until the Clippers fix their point guard issues, I'm really not going to get behind them as a championship contender. So it's basically who's going to step up and beat the Lakers out west. I think it comes down to the Sixers and Nets in the East, which would be a tremendous series, regardless if they met in the second round or the conference finals. But the action was hot and heavy for the first part of the NBA season. I think it's only going to get ratcheted up to another level for the second half. And of course, buckle in for an exciting 2021 postseason. So folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you subscribers out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. Take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.